statement, followed, and we can open the questions. Thank you. Joe, you can go ahead.
All right, guys, thanks for being here. I'll be brief because we've got some work to do leading up to post-draft free agency. But I want to take a couple minutes just to thank our scouts again. Day three is really their day to shine. They know these guys inside. Now, every card that's on our board, represents hours and hours of work as far as driving to a school, going to practice, getting information from sources, watching the tape. So those guys really did a great job of setting the table for us to really execute that plan this weekend. In terms of today, last night we ended with the Gator, and today we started with another Gator. So excited to get LaMichael in the fold. I think he'll be a great addition to our backfield. In the run and pass game, he does a lot of things well. So big play back, obviously very productive. So excited about him. Great opportunity to bring in a quarterback, to compete behind Sam and James Morgan. And he was a guy that we really love spending time with him at the combine. Big kid, strong arm, has all the tools to really help us. And I think he has an opportunity to shine in this offensive scheme. Cam Clark from UNC Charlotte, another kid that was a leader in his program. Love his tenacity, love his mentality, love the way that he finishes. Unique opportunity in the fifth round to add a player that may have slid because of an ankle injury in October, in Bryce Hall. But we're excited about him, his size, his length, his ball skills, and again another quality leader and a great addition to the locker room. And then the unique opportunity to add a punter in the sixth round, Braden Mann from Texas A&M, another extremely productive punter and a great young man, and he'll be a really good addition. He can do a lot of things well. And then with our final pick in the sixth, we traded to Indianapolis for Quincy Wilson, who I'm sure Rex can answer some questions on him, how to deal with him at Indy, but a former high pick coming out of Florida. So we went back to Gainesville to get another player, but got another guy with size, length, ball skills. He's done a lot of different things for Indy, from safety to corner to slot. So feel good about that flexibility and versatility he brings. So I'll open it up to questions from here.
Connor from The Athletic, your line is active.
Yeah, Joe, with this kind of being your first draft as a general manager, I was just wondering if you could kind of sum it up, how it went. Obviously, it was a little unorthodox, but just kind of how you thought the whole process went, and just kind of how you would summarize your first class.
Yeah, I would say this process went about as smooth as it could go under the circumstances, and I think it was a real team effort. And I think it from every department, from video to IT to coaching to personnel. I mean, we all came together. We embraced the technology. We embraced Microsoft Teams, and there's great communication back and forth. We weren't afraid to disagree. We weren't afraid to have tough conversations, and I really think it led us to some good players and a good overall draft.
Mark from the Post, your line is active.
Hey, Joe, with regard to receiver in this draft, obviously you guys need some. You addressed it with Mims. I'm just wondering, after that, Mims was the last of the kind of quote unquote highly touted receivers to go. Did things kind of fall off the ledge with those guys in terms of talent and potential? I mean, why did you not address more receivers, maybe get a couple more guys in? I'm just kind of curious, because I thought maybe you'd go a little heavier there, and I'm just wondering if the talent level dropped off significantly after Mims.
Yeah, no, I woun't say the talent fell off the ledge as far as we just took what the board gave us, how certain stacks fell, and I think in each scenario we were able to go with best player available, and it was able to help us with the need as well.
Daily News. Your line is active.
Joe, a couple things. Why did you opt to take a guy you can develop to be your backup quarterback as opposed to maybe somebody who could contribute this year? And secondly, what was your level of, I guess, trepidation in pulling the trigger on Bryce simply because, you couldn't get your doctors on him a second or third time?
Right. For the first part of your question, we had a real comfort level with James, and I'll let Adam chime in too, but this is a young man that's extremely intelligent, has the physical tools you're looking for, and I know you guys have heard me say before, quarterback is the most important position in all professional sports, and you can never have enough. And so here's an opportunity we felt to get a young quarterback that can develop with and behind Sam, and you need to have depth at that position, especially as we found out last year. So it was just we thought it was the right opportunity. As far as Bryce goes, we have a medical meeting every year with our players. We felt strong. Our doctors felt good about Bryce, and having the injury in October, we felt good about where he's at now, based on the communication and the ability to be around him at the combine, and communication we've had with his doctors, that he'll be ready to roll.
Brian from the Post, your line is active.
Yeah, this is for both Joe and Adam. I think all your picks today, all five guys were captains of their teams in college, and I think McKay may have been as well. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong there. What does it tell you, when a guy's a captain, and how does that kind of fit into what you guys are looking for?
Obviously you're trying to, we talked about culture, and, we're trying to add to it. And when we go through the personal and football character of every guy, what they bring, not only to the football field, but what they bring to the building and the locker room are obviously very important aspects. And we felt a lot of the guys that we brought in today, they bring a lot to the field and the building. So we're excited about that.
That's just a good example of what we've been looking to try to do all year is bring the right kind of guys in, and I think the scouts and the personnel guys did a good job of making sure that was priority, and I think it shows with the guys that we drafted.
Rich from ESPN, your line is active.
Yeah, I have two questions, one for Adam and one for Joe. Adam, I guess the goal, there was a lot of talk about getting protection and playmakers this offseason. Joe had mentioned that on several occasions. To what degree do you think that was accomplished in this draft?
I feel like we got a lot of that accomplished. I think with kind of how the draft goes, it's just so unpredictable. I think Joe and his guys did a great job of staying true to the board and really let it come to them, and it came. We got the right kind of guys, and we got a lot of positions that we were kind of thin at or missing filled, and we added depth to certain positions. I feel like it turned out as good as we could have hoped for.
Andy from The Record, your line is active.
Joe, kind of going back to what Brian asked about leadership, how do you balance that when you're making these decisions, when you have these guys you see as great fits for the team, but you also have to evaluate the talent? And so how do you get a feel for when leadership and these locker room skills outweigh talent, and how do you balance that?
Well, talent's number one, I think, as far as when you're discussing, okay, how does this player fit on our team? Who is this guy beating out? And then once you get the players slotted, in the stack, in the grade stack, okay, then let's talk about this guy's fit in our culture and in our building. But look, there has to be a baseline level of talent that goes into our to make this team, to make this roster better. And then really the icing on the cake is, the character, the makeup, the mentality, all the intangibles that go into making this building and this locker room better.
We got to say a couple more.
Yeah, I think Rich had a follow-up question for me on the one before. I don't know if he can get back, but never asked it. But.
Rich, your question for Joe. Your line is active.
Yeah, I was a little worried there for a second. So my question to Joe is, did any teams call to inquire about trading for Jamal? And secondly, now that he's still yours, what next? Now that you've got the draft out of the way, what next with Jamal in terms of trying to get a contract done?
I think next up for us is locking down undrafted free agent guys, and then reassess where we are on the pro scouting side. The calendar's changed a little bit with the CBA. In the past, you had to wait another few weeks before signing guys that were unrestricted free agents because of the count against your compensatory formula. That's changed in the new CBA. It doesn't count against your compensatory formula, I think, starting tomorrow or Monday morning. So I think you're going to see a real active week around the league with pro signings. But I'm not going to get into any discussions that we had. And my stance on Jamal hasn't changed. At some point we're gonna get with him and his representatives. But I think right now the very next thing is wrapping up this undrafted free agent process.
Connor from The Athletic, your line is active.
Yeah, this is a question for Rex and Joe. I was wondering, with all this kind of uncertainty surrounding the league right now with the coronavirus and things like that, do you guys anticipate the supplemental draft maybe being a little bit more unique this year in terms of players that aren't sure if there's going to be a college season entering that? Obviously, I know you guys are focusing on undrafted free agency, but I was wondering if you just happen to have a thought on that.
You want this one, or actually want me to go?
Oh, you can go ahead, Joe.
I'd say on the supplemental draft, I think there is some uncertainty. I actually was asked that question a couple weeks ago. My mind really hasn't been on the supplemental draft, because just you're in the moment, you're in the weeds with free agency and draft prep. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty with what's going on. So that's something I think we'll discuss. We'll see if anything changes, if there's more names that are added. If the terms of who's eligible for the supplemental draft changes because of this, I think there's just a lot of uncertainty and I wouldn't feel comfortable really commenting on it.
Yeah, there's always speculation each year about guys who may or may not declare for supplemental. So really the only thing we can do is just wait and see who declares in a timely fashion, and then we can assess it and evaluate the players individually from that point. Nick, we'll take one more. Brian from the Post, your line is active.
Joe, do you feel like you accomplished your objectives in this draft?
I think in the day, your objective is to try to make this team better.